Black eye last week, sore sphincter this week. And it's not enough. It's not enough to do an investigation yet. Let me remind everybody once again. This was enough. Concerns for misrepresentation of medical issues. That was enough to have them snatch him out of her home, his own mother, his loving mother. That was the evidence they needed to snatch him out of his home. Concerns for misrepresentation of medical issues. That was okay. But a black eye and a sore sphincter is not enough to have them even look into it.
Our State Department has now said that our foster care system is the leading trafficker of children, and we need to pay more attention to this and listen to what we already know. If that's the case, and I don't know if it's because of negligence that the sex trafficking is happening or if it's because of evil intent. I don't know, and it hasn't been revealed yet. But in this case, these people have been informed that a child is possibly being sexually abused. They have been informed by an attorney of the court that they are breaking the law, and they are refusing to follow it. They are refusing to follow their own laws, and there's no one that I can find to hold them accountable for doing it. I don't know how any parent can be expected to be told, we're not going to investigate this. I don't know how that can be okay. And I'm trying to discover who I can call in Colorado who will call these people and say, ridiculous, order the investigation. But apparently there doesn't seem to be anybody above Department of Human Services in Colorado. Nobody. The problem you're dealing with here is when the government decides that it's going to do something, it becomes legal.
Right. No, this is a good point. No, yes, that's called tyranny.
It doesn't matter what kind of laws are on the books. Tyranny. If the government that writes the laws decides to ignore their own laws, who is going to stop them? You know, there's an office in Colorado called the Colorado Child Protection Ombudsman. And this is the organization that is supposed to be investigating DHS, investigating parent complaints. And yet, if you look hard enough, you find that the Ombudsman for Child Protection is paid for by Department of Human Services. So they're getting their paycheck from the people that they're supposed to be.
Did you hear that, folks? The Ombudsman, who is supposed to be the oversight for Child Protective Services, is funded by Child Protective Services. Do you see the big fat joke is on us? The courage of this woman is just, it's off the charts. I mean, I don't know how she does it. I don't know. It's a testament to her character and courage.
This is why parents who are dealing with CPS become suicidal.
Yeah. They like that too. They like that too. That's good. They like that.
At some point, it becomes, you start to lose faith that anyone is going to help you, and death seems preferable than living in a world where the people put in charge of protecting children are harming them and not helping you. I don't know. I'm so upset about this. It's really hard because I feel like I know I have no power to do anything about it. And all I can do is get on the phone and call people. The county needs to be transparent about what they are doing with the children in our foster care system, especially after finding out from the State Department that we have a sex trafficking problem that's coming from our foster care system. Well, then why doesn't the State Department rip back the veil of secrecy? Why doesn't the State Department make it illegal for these people to hide what they are doing? And why doesn't the State Department put over a protocol over all CPS in this whole country that they must report to the State Department then what they are doing, or that the State Department can send investigators whenever they want to figure out what the hell these people are doing? There's no reason why the county should be exempt from its own rules. I mean, anybody out there who's listening, my suggestion, if you want to help in this situation, is to bring this situation to local media. I really want local media in Colorado to pick up on it and do some digging, because they will have far more influence on DHS than anyone else. We need local CBS, local newspapers. So if you are feeling helpless, please take the reporting that's already out there and send it to local reporters. Because I do have more faith in our local reporters than in the national news, and it is not a waste of time, because you will find some of these reporters have been on this beat for a while, and they know that the corruption is there, and they will be interested in this story, and we need more light. We need more sunlight. That's what we need.
After hearing 2 weeks of testimony, the jury had 2 questions to answer. Should the parental rights of the 6-year-old boy's mother be terminated? The jury's answer, yes. But when asked if the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, aka CPS, should be appointed managing conservator, meaning having custody of the 6-year-old, the jury's answer, no.
CPS's rights were basically terminated also.
Through testimony, the jury heard the horrors the 6-year-old endured while in CPS custody.
This child had been placed in over 7 placements in 12 months. He had been physically abused by a foster mother. He had been placed in psychiatric care.
Attorney Julie Kellerman says the 6-year-old was erroneously told 3 times he was going to be adopted.
And then he was sexually abused in the placement, the foster home he's currently in.
Now CPS is asking the judge to disregard the jury's unprecedented decision to not allow the state agency to have custody of the abused child.
It was unanimous. It wasn't even 10-2. It was unanimous. We polled the jury. You're either going to respect that or you're not.
Right now, the 6-year-old remains in the same foster home where he was sexually abused by a 14-year-old for 3 weeks.
Nothing happened to the 14-year-old who was in that home who actually did the sexual abuse.
My son was kidnapped 8 weeks ago, and he wasn't taken by a drug cartel or a criminal organization. He was taken from my home in broad daylight by the state of Texas. How could this happen? These were the thoughts that were running through my mind when I watched this happen to my friends Ashley and Daniel a few weeks ago. I had to put myself in their shoes. How would I feel if this were my son being ripped from me? Drake is 4 years old and he's had a lot of medical needs, and his parents took him to Children's Medical Center in Dallas. One of the doctors from Children's Medical Center, who had never seen Drake, never spoken to him, never spoken to the parents, never given Drake any type of medical care, did a partial review of Drake's medical file and reported the family to Child Protective Services. The next day, CPS showed up at the family's house and left a business card on their door. CPS had also never met the family, never met Drake, and never spoken to a single doctor or other person who had any first-hand knowledge of any of Drake's medical conditions. All the same, CPS showed up at the family's house unannounced and without warning 2 weeks later with armed police officers and forcibly removed him from his home. Drake has never come back home. So Ashley and Daniel went to court to figure out why. Why was Drake taken? What had they done wrong? What was the emergency? And I went to court with them. What we heard there shocked all of us. CPS gave 2 reasons for why Drake had to be removed from his home in an emergency. They said that the family had failed to attend a meeting with the hospital on June 10th. But CPS also testified under oath that they had intentionally not informed the family that that meeting was happening. So how was the family supposed to show up at a meeting that they didn't know was taking place? The second reason that CPS gave why Drake had to be removed from his home was because of the doctor who originally reported the family to CPS. But that doctor got up on the stand and testified under oath that she had not reviewed all of Drake's medical records, never thought there was an emergency requiring that Drake be removed from his home, never requested that Drake be removed from his home, and was surprised to learn that Drake had been removed from his home. But worst of all, when that doctor was asked how her medical recommendations could be met as long as Drake remained in CPS care, she said, "I don't know." You would think that after all of this was laid out publicly that CPS would admit their error and back down. But instead, CPS dug in their heels and refused to admit their mistake in order to save face. Instead of returning Drake, I watched CPS stand up in the courtroom and ask the judge to keep Drake even longer. And unbelievably, the judge closed his eyes to the facts and allowed CPS to keep Drake for up to a year. Ashley and Daniel are living a nightmare. Their son is 4 years old. He needs to be home with his family who loves him, not with a government agency who's gone out of control and refuses to admit its error. But there's one other twist that you need to know about this. At the end of that court hearing, the judge put a gag order on Ashley and Daniel. If they spoke with the media or were part of this video or posted on Instagram about what's happening to their son, they could be thrown in jail. Ashley and Daniel can't stand up for their own son because the court put a gag order on them. Drake can't stand up for himself because he's 4 years old and he's being held in state custody. The state of Texas has refused to stand up for Drake. They're the ones who kidnapped him from his home. CPS protects thousands of children, but they're not protecting Ashley and Daniel's son. Drake is experiencing the most traumatizing event of his life. He's been ripped from his family and he's being held by the state with no end in sight. So who will speak up for Drake? Who is even left to protect him? We are. We are Drake's last hope. If we don't stand up for Drake, no one else will. CPS, the judge, and the hospital need to be held accountable. We will not rest until we bring Drake home. Take action at bringdrakehome.com. We are the only ones left who can speak for Drake. Don't be silent. Visit bringdrakehome.com to see how you can help.